Hey guys, it's Erik from Mad A Productions. And I think at this point we know I love Atari. And recently I picked up something pretty cool. I picked up the Atari Flashback Portable, a portable Atari 2600 with 60 built-in games. Plus it has an SD card slot so you can play your own Atari 2600 ROMs. Let's take a look at this thing. Okay, so here's the Atari Flashback Portable, the box for it. As we can see, 60 built-in games here. And classic hits include Frogger, Asteroid, which this is interesting because this is a portable Atari 2600, but this is not the Atari 2600 version of Frogger. We'll see that in some of the gameplay footage here in a few minutes. But if you flip the box over on the back, it lists all of the games, and I'm not going to rattle them all off, but if you want to pause the video here for a second, you can see all the games here that it comes with. And let's go ahead and open the box up now. I've opened this already, so it's not in like an open shape in here, but I did put some of the stuff back in here so you can get an idea of what it looked like when you open the box up. But all it really came with was the player, the system, and this was like wrapped in a little plastic bag, and it had an instruction manual, and then it had a little charging cable that's just a USB charging cable that it came with that I actually have plugged in. I don't have it in here right now. So, and the manual is pretty thin. All it really is just a, shows you, let me get to the first page here, shows you what the buttons do, and then just little brief summaries of each of the built-in games. So, nice to have, but I haven't really flipped much through it because this thing is pretty self-explanatory. Let's get this out of the way. And we can take a look at the system here. Here it is. Your D-pad. And then what's really cool about this, like I mentioned earlier, is you can put an SD card in here and you can load up ROMs, Atari 2600 ROMs on an SD card, and have all of your ROMs there to play, which is pretty cool. You get your volume control, and then also it has an AV out. Now, you have to order this from At Games. The cable for this doesn't come with it, but you can order it, and then if you plug it in here, you can plug this into a TV through the AV cables, the red, yellow, white cables, and then play this on the TV. So it becomes not just a portable player, but a full-fledged Atari 2600. Well, not full-fledged because you can't plug controllers into it, which is another downside we'll see here in a minute. But let's go ahead and, there's a headphone jack here, and then here's the power switch. Let's flip it on. So here's the menu that first appears when you power the unit on. And you can use the left and right arrows on the D-pad to page through the games, which is nice. You don't have to scroll through all 60 to find the game you want to play. And you see there's also an option for the SD card slot there, so that's where you can play your own ROMs. Pretty simple to use. Take a look at Centipede here. And it's Atari 2600 Centipede, which is a good thing. And this unit looks and plays and sounds pretty nice. I mean, when I say sounds nice, it sounds like an Atari 2600, but the screen is surprisingly nice for how much the unit cost, and there's a really good variety of games built in. There are some of the paddle-based games included, games like Breakout and Circus that you can see here, and I question the inclusion of those just because these games are pretty much unplayable with the D-pad. You really need the paddle controller for these games, and you can't plug one into this, so I wish they hadn't have wasted some of the 60 slots on the paddle games. But besides those, it's a pretty good selection of games. We'll take a look at Frogger here. Now you notice here, this is not the Atari 2600 version of Frogger. I don't know if this is the 5200 version, but this looks and sounds a lot nicer than what the normal Atari 2600 version of Frogger looks like. So that's interesting that they included a non-Atari 2600 game in the list of 60 built-in games. This is a really good and fun version of Frogger though. And I think it is a great inclusion in the list of built-in games, and is one of the games that makes it worth purchasing the system, because I do love Frogger. Now let's take a look at how playing ROMs off the SD card works. So you just go over and select the SD card item on the menu, and then it presents you with a list of the ROMs that you've got on your SD card. If you're familiar with AtariAge.com, they've got a thread over there that maintains a compatibility list of all the ROMs that will work with this, including all the homebrew ROMs, which is really helpful. I love that place. Here I'm playing the ROM for Battlezone, and this is a really cool version of Battlezone. I had not actually played this version until I got this portable system and threw the ROM on here. I'm a big fan of the arcade game, the vector-based arcade game, but this is a really cool version. I like this. Ah, I got hit. I always love the Atari death animations. They're always crazy and psychedelic. Let's take a look at one more ROM played off the SD card. We'll take a look at Xenophobe, which is another Atari 2600 game that I hadn't played until I picked up the system and threw the ROM on there. I didn't know there was an Atari 2600 version. I just recently picked up the NES port of it, which I haven't had a chance to play yet, but I'm excited to try that out. But I always loved the arcade game. So here's Xenophobe on the Atari 2600, and you can see it's pretty easy to play on this thing also. Now that I've played this thing for a few weeks, I have a pretty good feel for it, and I have to say I'm pretty impressed with it. The screen looks really nice, the speaker is loud and clear, the build quality is okay. It's not heavy, it doesn't feel like a Nintendo or a Sony product, obviously, but it doesn't feel super cheap either like a lot of other crappy knockoff systems can be. So I think this thing's pretty cool, I like it. The only real complaints that I have with it is the inclusion of the paddle-based games and a small complaint about the price. The MSRP on this thing is $50, and I just feel like it should be $40. I don't know if it's just a psychological thing, but I feel like at $40 this would be a much easier impulse buy for a lot of people to swallow. Or at $50 I feel like it should come with the AV cable that they make you order separately to be able to play this on your TV. If it came with that for $50, then I would be totally okay with the price. But again, the price isn't horrible for what you're getting. It's a portable Atari 2600, which is really cool. So if you're a fan of Atari and the Atari 2600, I'd recommend picking one of these up if you see it. Are you a fan of the Atari 2600? Let me know what some games are down in the comments below that I should take a look at. I'd love to review some more Atari 2600 games. Also, don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons and check out the social media links there. And as always, thanks for watching.